Taking soundings in the deep ocean was long remained a laborious and time-consuming task, and knowledge of the undersea topography left considerably behind our acquaintance with the landscape of the near side of the moon. Over the years, the methods were improved. The principle of cooperation is one of the things that sets conversation apart from similar activities such as lectures, debates, arguments, and meetings. Other qualities which help to define conversation include the equal distribution of speaker rights, mutual respect among speakers, spontaneity and informality, and a non-businesslike environment. The American executive, unlike the British, has no connection with the legislature, and this lack of coordination between executive and legislature is one of the distinctive features of American federal government. The Constitution guarded against executive control by disqualifying federal officials, whether civil or military, from membership in Congress. In the summer of 2006, Europe experienced drought on an unprecedented scale. On the Rhine, Europe's busiest waterway, low waters forced ships to carry less cargo and make up for the lost revenue with surcharges of up to 50%. In Italy, the Agricultural Confederation announced that the grape harvest was the lowest in 2 decades. The history of life on Earth is filled with mystery, life and death struggles, and bizarre plants and animals are amazing as any mythological creatures. Studying life's history is one of the most fascinating and challenging parts of biology, and researchers go about it in several ways. Blue food is rare in nature. Food researchers say that when humans searched for food, they learned to avoid toxic and spoiled objects, which were often blue, black, or purple. When food dyed blue is served to the study projects, they lose appetite.
It is quite clear that rising prosperity does not make people feel more content.
It is quite clear that rising prosperity does not make people feel more content.
This course will examine some of the profound ethical dilemmas.
This course will examine some of the profound ethical dilemmas.
Fees are heavily discounted and bursaries are available for delegates.
Fees are heavily discounted and bursaries are available for delegates.
Students are held accountable for adhering to established community standards.
Students are held accountable for adhering to established community standards.
This article covers the who, where, and when of the conflict.
This article covers the who, where, and when of the conflict.
Essays should be typed with double spacing on white paper.
Essays should be typed with double spacing on white paper.
The medical centre is located near the supermarket on North Street.
The medical center is located near the supermarket on North Street.
The mismatch between the intended and reported uses of the instrument becomes clear.
The mismatch between the intended and reported uses of the instrument becomes clear.
New York City is famous for its ethnic diversity.
New York City is famous for its ethnic diversity.
A periodical is a publication that is issued regularly.
A periodical is a publication that is issued regularly. This graph gives us some information about source of funding for higher education in Scotland from 1994 to 2001. According to the graph, it is quite clear to see that when we look at founding council grants, we can see an increase during the whole period. According to the graph, it is quite clear to see that when we look at research, we can see an increase. According to the graph, it is quite clear to see that when we look at overseas fees, we can also see an increase. In conclusion, when we look at 2001 February, endowments is smaller than services. This graph gives us some information about retirements from the maintained schools by reason in England from 1998 to 2005. According to the graph, it is quite clear to see that when we look at premature, we can see an increase during the whole period. The largest number can be found around 5,000. According to the graph, it is quite clear to see that when we look at age, we can see an increase as well as during the whole period. In conclusion, when we look at 2005 June, the number of age is similar to the number of premature, while we look at 1998, and the number of age is larger than the number of premature. This graph gives us some information about proportions of trips made by mode in Sydney in 2004. According to the graph, it is quite clear to see that the largest number can be found in vehicles, 75%. According to the graph, it is quite clear to see that the second largest number can be found in walk only, 17%. According to the graph, it is quite clear to see that the smallest number can be found in other. In conclusion, train, bus, and ferry is larger than other, which is 10%. Vehicle, train, bus, and ferry, walk only, and other. These graphs gives us some information about the evolution of success rate in Canada from 2000 and 2003. According to the graph, it is quite clear to see that when we look at successes, the graph also gives us some information about increase in the number of dwellings over the past 10 years. According to the graph, it is quite clear to see that the name of region in Sydney City is in 1994. The number is 45,040, which is smaller than the number in 2004, 76,833. The increased number is 31,000. In conclusion, the graph is about dwelling stock. The graph gave us some information about evolution of success rate in Canada from 2000 and 2003. According to the graph, it is quite clear to see that when we look at successes, the largest number can be found in 2002 at 87.5%, and the smallest number can be found in 2003 at 59.4%. According to the graph, it is quite clear to see that when we look at failures, the largest number can be found in 2003, 14.6%, and the smallest number can be found in 2002, 12.5%. In conclusion, successes is larger than failure. The line chart gave us some information about the average class in UK schools from 1994 to 2006. According to the graph, it is quite clear to see that when we look at primary, during the first period from 1994 to 1998, we can see an increase. In the next period from 1998 to 2006, we can see a decrease. According to the graph, it is quite clear to see that when we look at secondary, the average class size is very stable during the whole period. In conclusion, when we look at 2006, the size of primary school is larger than the size of secondary school. This lecture talks about cells. Basis of all life forms is cell. All creatures on earth is made of cells. There are two types of cells. The one on the left is called prokaryotic cell, which is simple and what bacteria is made of. The other one is called eukaryotic cell, which is more complicated. The lecture also talks about when there are many single cells and they form an important multi-cell organs. In conclusion, there are two types of cells and the lecture talks about a lot of other interesting stuff. This lecture talks about the cause of homelessness, which are unemployment, lost productivity, and contribution. These are typically uncounted causes. It can be addressed with integrated strategy. The lecture also talks about sustainable challenges. We can create green design principles to build healthier buildings for staff. It helps the environment and limit emission and contain energy costs. It can also benefit the community, corporate organizations, and the government in the development of Prince George. In conclusion, there are also student architects participating in it. This lecture is talking about the flower called dandelion. It happens around 2000 BC. The Romans would use this plant to heal the wounds of soldiers. When the time got to the Middle Age, dandelions are well established as a medicinal plant. It is planted in basically every monasteries and land. It contains heaps of knowledge, and people will take it wherever they go just in case they are sick. Because people know dandelions can cure people. In conclusion, its Latin stands for lion, and you can still buy it off the shelf until this day.
How many times a year is a quarterly journal published?
4.
A lack of which kind of weather causes drought? Dry weather or rainy weather?
Dry weather.
Which is usually considered against the law, the use of illicit drugs or the use of prescription medication?
The use of illicit drugs.
When would it be safer to take a medication which causes drowsiness? Before sleeping, driving, or operating machinery?
Before sleeping.
Which instrument is used to measure variations in temperature?
Thermometer.
Where is the natural habitat of animals that are classified as aquatic? In the land, in the sea, or in the sky?
In the sea.
Which of the 5 senses are you using if you detect the odor of gas in the laboratory or in your kitchen?
Smell.
How many people are in a quartet?
4.